our asset on the VeVe app is worth a lot of money. And if people want to use the unofficial VeVe apps or websites or whatever, do not use the same email address and password that you use for your VeVe account. Because when those two data fields are compromised, then you are in big trouble.
Big time. Big
Yeah.
time.
Especially if the 2FA, two factor authentication, if it's through like a text message thing, like if you log into your bank account using your email and then they send you a code via text, then it's a different story. But for VeVe, they're still doing it on your email. So if you lose your email and your email's password or your VeVe's password, then you're in big trouble. What's good, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of the VeVe Vantage Podcast. It's a fun one today. We'll be talking about my trip to Montana, why VeVe Analytics fail, and what it can do better to become a great product, why you should post more often and get more followers in the VeVe app because it will help you tremendously in the VeVeverse, our current VeVe and OMI strategy, MisterV's latest acquisitions, and a lot more. This is an episode you do not want to miss. Let's get to it. So last week, I was offline for the whole week because I went to Glacier National Park in Montana and it was beautiful. And I wanted to tell you and everybody about this trip because we always talk about VeVe, but sometimes I feel like let's just take a quick break, and talk about other things in life too. And I love national park. Every year I always try to go to one. So this year I went with my girlfriend to Glacier National Park. And so we flew into Montana and it rained for the first day and a half. And Glacier National Park has this very beautiful road. They called it Going to the Sun Road that they spent 23 years building. So it goes from the one end of the park to the other end. So from east to west or vice versa. And it's beautiful. And it's like maybe 60 miles or something like that. But anyways, the rain got pretty bad in the first 2 days that I were there. And then the road was very bad too. Like the first 9 miles of that road was just like filled up with potholes and everything. And then the big SUVs and the pickup trucks did fine. But my rental company gave me a Toyota Prius, which is great on mileage because when you have a full tank of gas, it can go 487 miles. And that blew me away. So if anything happened and everything got stuck, then I would do fine. But then like the first 9 miles dealing with so many potholes, it was terrible. But we made it through. It is a very beautiful park. I saw a grizzly bear, a ram, some mountain goat, and the hikes are just absolutely gorgeous. So I would highly recommend you to go because it is totally worth it. You have to have a ton of reservations. So you have to reserve if you want to go on that road, going to the Sun Road. And then if you can get a reservation, then you can buy another reservation to go inside the national park. So it's like a pretty weird system. But beautiful hikes. The weather got a lot better on my second and third day, so we were able to see a lot of the scenery and the animals too.
All right, well, that's good
Yeah,
that you ended up on a pretty good note and got got to experience what you went there for, right?
yeah. I was offline for the whole week, so I intentionally did not log into VeVe, and I did not miss all the dramas at all. I feel super refreshed, and I think that was very necessary for me to do because I'm always VeVe for about 3-4 hours every day, just content and editing the videos and the podcast and those kind of things, and just writing a lot and just hanging out with people. So it was a very nice break.
That's great, man.
Yeah.
The only time I've been out even remotely
Mhm.
close to that part of the country in the US is maybe 7, 8 years ago.
Mhm.
I went to Colorado. I went to Breckenridge.
Mm.
for a ski trip slash snowboarding trip. My buddy and I went. This is before I got married and had kids, but uh, so we went out that way, and we got caught in a snowstorm. And
Oh.
we, I like my friend is kind of familiar with the area. It was my first time out there, and we got a rental, and it was just a front wheel drive car. I
Mm-hmm.
don't remember what it
Yeah.
was exactly, but anyways, during the storm, I saw like all these trucks with chains on the tires. Like,
Yeah.
what is this? Like, isn't that gonna like wreck the roads and the highways and everything? But as I started walking around the area, like I realized one, the mountains would close like around sunset or like 7 or 8
Mm-hmm.
p.m. because it would get dangerously cold.
Yeah.
And while I was walking on the sidewalks, like bar hopping, I would be slipping all over the place, looking like a fool.
Yeah.
I wasn't aware that like there would be ice on the ground that you can't see, right? So, um, anyways, we as we try and leave, this snowstorm got worse and worse,
Mm-hmm.
and we kept on getting stuck as we tried to make our way onto the highway. And what happened? Yeah, we did get stuck, and so we'd have to hop out of the car and try and push it to get out of the snow.
Wow.
And that was, I mean, meanwhile, everyone else is just kind of like looking at us like we're idiots because one, we didn't get a four-wheel or all-wheel drive vehicle for the snow, or something like that. So that was my first experience, and I don't know if that's to be expected, like with all kinds of weather in that part of the country, but I wouldn't make that mistake twice.
Yeah. I can tell you what happened to me. So I was born and raised in Vietnam, and where I'm from in Vietnam, Ho Chi Minh City, I think the coldest we've ever gotten was like upper 40 degrees Fahrenheit. So that was the coldest. We do not have snow. We've never had snow where I'm from in Vietnam. So I had no idea about like snow protections for your vehicles and stuff. I did when I came here and started, going to college and stuff. I did not even know that snow tire exists. So the first winter in the Northeast that I started going to school and going to work, I drove to my company, and at the time I had um, a 2007 vehicle. It was a convertible, front wheel drive, summer tires. Okay, keep in mind I did not know that there was different kind of tires. It was just like this car that I borrowed from my family members because I needed to go to work, and the road condition got so bad that um, when I tried to stop the car, like let's just say like the traffic light is, I don't know, like 10 feet away, right? I would make sure I stop maybe 10 feet before I get to the light, like to the line for the traffic light, so that the car would kind of drift there and stop exactly at the line. It was terrible.
That's a
My car
dangerous
did
thing.
not have air conditioner. So when it's snowing, when there's a snowstorm, because nobody taught me, like I was a kid from Vietnam. It was a very hot and humid country. Driving into the snow, it was cold outside. We didn't have an AC inside the car, so I would turn on the heat, right? When it is cold out and it is hot inside, it like there's a difference in the temperature, and therefore a lot of fog were created, right? That's why when you take a shower, like a hot shower, and it's cold outside, then your mirrors will get very foggy. That's what happened to me. And then my convertible, like the soft top, is made of fabric, so the water got through it because it is a pretty old convertible. So long story short, my all my um, windshields and all my windows were foggy. I didn't know how to turn on the thing to defog it. So I would stop every 10 minutes to
Um,
take a towel on my sweater or whatever and just wipe it off and just kept driving home. And I I just kept praying that I would get home And when I got home, the town that I was staying at was very hilly. So there was like a couple hills that I had to get to during a snowstorm before I can get home. And that day I saw so many accidents. I was super lucky because I actually made it home like the commute was like an hour and a half, so it was not an easy commute. And when I got home, I was like 2 miles away from home, and there was these three very steep hills, and I could not get up the first one, and because the car kept like slipping down, and I saw so many other vehicles just like slide down, hitting random things. So I saw this recycling center that has a parking lot, and I was so desperate. I went in and asked them, "Hey, can I park my car here tonight and come back and get it tomorrow?" And they let me do it. So I just parked it there and walked 15 minutes home, and that was pretty wild. So that was my experience with driving in the snow.
Well, glad you made it home in one piece and that you didn't crash into anything. I
Yeah.
think that's not good.
Yeah. But anyways, that was very off track, but I hope people would enjoy that. When I was on vacation, VeVe Analytics was something that a lot of people talked about, and I know you used it a lot. Let's get started with it. And you can go first because you obviously had a lot more experience with it than I do.
Yeah, so when I came across it, I was super excited. Just to see like what it had to offer. It
Mm,
looked like there was a lot more than what we were used to for basically since we've started on VeVe. So in a nutshell, it showed all the different users on VeVe. It showed what their vault value was.
mm,
It showed how many collectibles and comics. Oh, no, excuse me. It did not show anything about comics, but it did show collectibles. It showed how much people were selling each item for and how much they got or how much they paid for their collectibles. It showed the top 5 people that they had transactions with. So like
mm.
you did 30 transactions with one person and then and then you go down from there. It just showed like who who you interacted with the most on the marketplace. And it showed everything from your first day on the app to
Wow.
present day. And it also allowed you to search every single collectible on the app and the owners
Mm,
even and that's something that was very unique because I've tried certain apps. I've asked other people to try certain apps as well, and not it's not always when you're not always able to find the user or
mm.
the username of the owner of collectibles because what would end up happening with certain apps is it would show you the token ID number
Right,
on a
right.
little
The
X.
address, right?
Uh, the token ID,
Okay.
uh, and then that would direct you to the wallet of the
Oh,
owner.
okay.
But then you have to play this game of hunting down. Okay, you don't know what the username of that owner is, but you saw that they sold or bought something on the market, and so you kind of go through down this rabbit hole of trying to. And I actually did this today. You ask who who bought like whoever bought or sold or who had like some kind of market activity with
Mm,
that account owner, and you ask the people who had some activity with them, hey, what was the name of that owner of that collectible that you bought
right.
something from or sold something to. So it that is just a really big challenge, and VeVe Analytics kind of washed that stress away. It made it
Mm-hmm.
so easy. Now, uh, the other side of this is that a lot of this information that was being disclosed openly was not necessarily supposed to happen. This is a lot of this was supposed to be private information, and companies supposed to protect the what's the word I'm looking for? The investors, the collectors, the community members who are involved in it. But it looks like, and then this is, you could speculate on as to how people got access to this information. And let's just say that this creator was not supposed to be disclosing all of this information. VeVe did not give them their blessing. And as far as I know, there's a very, very strong team that was working on putting together something very similar to this, but with whatever is allowed. You know,
Mm.
VeVe would be like, VeVe already gave them the green light to be able to have access to certain information, and then they could use this on their website or app or whatever it is that they're going to be developing and releasing soon. I know that they have a meeting coming up
Mm.
any day now, and I'm excited. And you know, going back to VeVe Analytics, anyways, that site has since shut down, and my guess is that they got told that they had to stop all this activity because it was without the consent of VeVe. And it's anybody's guess as to how they got access to it. I mean, it could have been a former employee or former employees that had access to this information, and I don't know. I don't want to I don't want to branch out from there because I don't want to cause any further concern. But on that same note, I was talking with some awesome people in the
Mm-hmm.
community,
Yeah.
particularly good buddy of mine. His name is Javier. A
Yeah.
lot
Yeah.
of people are familiar with him and the work that he does. And we had a little back and forth today. And one of the concerns that's it's legit, it could be legitimate, is that the account owner information could have been compromised because
Right.
if the website creator or creators had access to all this information about market activity, all the way down to how much people spent or how much they got paid and what their net balance is,
Mm-hmm.
um, they could have access to names, email addresses, and who knows what else. So this is really, it's a big deal. Emails could have been compromised, so there could be some phishing going on um, down the road. So it's not 100%, but it's a possibility. And
Right.
in our opinion, it's really worthwhile considering changing your email address connected to the to VeVe, because some people some people may have used the same email address for VeVe Analytics as they do with VeVe, right?
Yeah.
For
Yeah.
registration and all of that. Or they may have used an email that may be similar to their VeVe username, or an email that ties them to their account owner name. And you know, I may be misunderstanding this, but like, say for example, if you use a certain password and an email on VeVe Analytics, chances are people use the same password,
Yes.
right? For different
Exactly.
accounts.
Mm-hmm.
So it'd be in everyone's best interest to change your password immediately on VeVe and on your email addresses for the one that you use for VeVe, and if you use a different one for registering on VeVe Analytics.
Right.
I I personally, like, I use a different email, but like I'm still changing all of my passwords and everything now that I thought had time to think about it. So um,
I think that is a great point, and I think that is a very important thing for people to do. Is do not use your VeVe email on other non-VeVe, well, on other unofficial VeVe website. For example, like, because our brain is wired in a certain way that we have this muscle memory. Let's just say, like, I use Will at gmail.com for my VeVe account, right? If I was to use will at gmail.com, and because of muscle memory, my password is 123456 or something on VeVe Analytics, that's going to be a pretty bad thing to do, right? Because first, I am revealing who I really am. Because when I log into the website, not just VeVe Analytics, but other sites too, when I look up my account, which is something that I will most likely do, they can kind of guess that, okay, this guy Will, this is his username, this is his email, and it is somewhat likely that the password that he just put it into our site, and not just this particular site, but any other unofficial VeVe product, site, apps, whatever, is the same one that he used for his VeVe account. And especially if you think about 2FA, 2FA is done using email. So what if the password I use for VeVe is the same password I use for my Gmail, right? Who knows? Then they can pretty easily access my VeVe account. So my point here is that I completely agree with you in the sense that our asset on the VeVe app is worth a lot of money. And if people want to use the unofficial VeVe apps or websites or whatever, do not use the same email address and password that you use for your VeVe account. Because when those two data fields are compromised, then you are in big trouble.
Big time.
Yeah.
And I've made it a point, especially the past couple of months, to change my password. I do it every single month, and I make it as long and confusing as possible, even for myself. So like I'll use lowercase, uppercase, multiple different symbols, just, and I do my best to make it like at least 20 characters long, because
Yeah.
the longer the password and the more variety you have to it, the tougher it is for anybody to decipher. And I've not that I've known anyone in
Yeah.
particular to be able to, like, I don't know, figure out passwords or anything like that. But I've had plenty of friends in IT who've told me that the more complicated you make it, the better for
Yes.
your personal safety, and doing it frequently enough.
And there are sites out there that will, when you put in just your email address, it will tell you if your email address was a part of a hack or a security breach in other companies. Because we all know that, even big banks, like I think Wells Fargo, or like, I can't remember exactly, but some big banks or other financial institutions or like insurance companies, whatever, they get hacked pretty often. And these websites will tell you if your email address was a part of those hacks. And you can then check it, see if your email address has been a part of a hack, then you can change it, or change the password, or set up 2FAs, or extra security layers, or use a different emails for your VeVe account. The sites that I use is have I been pwned.com, and
Phone.
that's yeah, and that is a pretty popular site, but I am not going to make a recommendation here. You just do your own research and choose a site that you want to use. But yeah, this is a pretty big deal that not many people talk about.
Yeah, speaking of which, you just reminded me, even hospitals
Mm-hmm.
have been hacked. Like the hospital where one of my kids was born and got hacked, and they accessed the patient information,
Mm-hmm.
and including my family's.
Yes.
And they ended up calling me and they were saying that we owed like X amount of money. We had an outstanding balance, and fortunately, like I had really good insurance, and
Mm-hmm.
we paid everything, and took care of it. And so we knew, we knew that we took care of it. But imagine, like, if there's anyone older in your family that may not be familiar or savvy, like, with what's going on, that could really cause an issue, and people could get taken advantage of.
Right.
So just just being on top of those things, educating yourself, kind of like what you were saying, do your own research, but that's easier said than done. So
Yeah.
I think we all have to be advocates for the people in our lives. Just share some reminders. Like I know I just today I was telling people change your emails,
Hmm.
change your passwords.
Especially if the 2FA, the two factor authentication is still done on your email. If it's on your, if it's through like a text message thing, like if you log into your bank account using your email and then they send you a code via text, then it's a different story. But for VeVe, they're still doing it on your email. So if you lose your email and your email's password or your VeVe's password, then you're in big trouble. Hey guys, just a quick message. Every week I, MisterV, work over 20 hours to bring you the most non-BS VeVe content. English is my second language, and there were nights we recorded until 1 a.m. My brain stopped processing and I naturally spoke Vietnamese to him, and it got pretty weird. But that's just how dedicated we are to this podcast. In return, we ask you to enter a gentleman agreement. We will continue working until 1 a.m. for you, but we ask you to subscribe to the podcast, leave us a rating, and tweet at us to tell us what you think, because those comments will ultimately help us to refine the content just for you. That's it. That's all you need to do. Let's get back to it. But question for you, going back to VeVe Analytics, did you look at your account?
I did, and I noticed some inconsistencies.
Okay.
So it did not reflect everything that I put into the app, because it was a good amount more than maybe what it showed. It showed the back and forth, like what I sold, what I got back
Mm-hmm.
in terms of sales, and I was pretty impressed.
Did it show the correct balance, or like, okay, this is the thing about me and this site. I left for vacation on August 29th. The site came out on August 29th. And throughout my vacation, I did not turn on Twitter. So I did not know about this controversy going on. When I came back, I did turn on Twitter until 1 or 2 days before the site got shut down. So I didn't get the chance to use it. I didn't even look at my account or anything like that. So when you were looking at your account, I think there was like a field that will show the amount of money that you put in. Is that correct, or?
It was like maybe a ballpark,
Mhm.
but it didn't reflect everything. Like, so for example, I know I put in a lot more than what my account had shown. Um, and I think it was profits and losses.
Mhm.
And on paper, my losses look absolutely crazy.
Yes.
But I know what I paid in terms of premiums, and then it did not. Yeah, like just plain and simple, it didn't show everything that I had put in terms of all the gems that I had bought from the store, and it did. It was not completely. It was not exhaustive in terms of the information that was shared. It was pretty comprehensive, but not exhaustive. I don't think that the figures reflected the comics. I mean,
Mhm.
I could speak to the collectibles. I know that the numbers were crazy for my account
Mhm.
in terms of unrealized losses based on the premiums versus the floor prices. But for comics, I don't think that
Yeah, yeah.
that it was showing. However, I do know that on a part of the website, it was saying that there was going to be a fee that you could pay where they would be able to show certain information, including details about the comics for
Okay.
yourself and for others.
And did you see the username for everybody?
Like, yeah, you
Wow.
can see anybody's information. And what was the interesting thing? You could see all of the data, as far as I know, except for the common Spider-Man, the FA common
Mm.
Spider-Man collectibles, because I
I
checked
know
it
you
out.
had a tweet about it.
Yeah, that was really funky. there was a lot of information missing.
Mm-hmm.
It was just like a blank field. There were multiple blank fields, and so that was just an observation that I had made, and I'm wondering, what does that mean? What
Right.
is
Okay. So this is what I think about it. And disclaimer, I did not get the chance to use it a whole lot, and this is purely just from research. So I spoke to two people. I read from three. So I looked at the data and the insight from five people, and all of them know quite a bit about VeVe, IMX, and API data. And I want to give us, before I talk about my findings, I want to give a shout out to Big Grand. I know you have heard of him. His Twitter handle is BigGrand480. He runs a site himself, but he told me not to mention it yet, maybe because he's not ready to launch it yet, still working on it, maybe. The second person that I talked to is Seth, CEDMRX. He runs Vault Value. So that's two. The other three have built pretty credible products in the VeVe community. Javier, so Javier Torres, you know him. Omi the Clown, he built Ecomi Wiki, and Crypto Pro at DBMMO. He built the VeVe feed. So all these people, all five of them, have had a lot of experience with VeVe data. So proper shout out to all of those guys. And I think this is just from my understanding. Everybody seems to agree that the data did not come from IMX, but instead it looks like the data comes from the private VeVe API. So to those who are not familiar with API, it's more like, and this is a very dumbed down explanation, it's more like a bridge between you and the app. And VeVe can give you API access that can allow you to extract certain types of data from the company. Maybe it's not the email address, maybe it's just the, I don't know, like the username or the name of the collectibles and the prices that it got transacted at. Maybe. But I don't think it's the email address. But besides the point, I know that there's been a lot of arguments on, oh, you know what, this is a Web3 company, this is the blockchain, this data should have been available and this proved transparency. I don't think so, because certain data points are available on AMX. For example, the name of the collectibles, the wallet address, the date of the transaction, and other things like mint numbers and those kind of things, but definitely not the usernames. That has to be from the VeVe database, so that's private. And I think the sale prices for these collectibles, I think that's also another private data point that does not show up on IMX either. So those two data points should not be publicly available.
I think that there was somebody who was saying that there was like some kind of workaround to be able to to find out what the purchase and sale prices were.
I
And
think Javier mentioned it.
yeah,
Was like, he mentioned that somebody could have scraped the historical prices of these collectibles, maybe like the floor price or whatever, and kind of like triangulate that to the dates that these collectibles transacted. But I think, which kind of makes sense, but the thing is, it's not going to be that accurate if you don't pay floor prices. You know, like you can buy a comic at floor for 5 gems, but instead you opted in to buy a very nice mint number for 50 gems. So that's not going to be accurate. But yes, I am familiar with that effort to find the username based on the wallet address. And I think this is what Nordo Alive, I think that's his username, who's been publishing the ranking on a weekly basis, and some other folks that I forgot the name. So so I think what they've been doing is, and I was very curious about this, but when I talked to them, they told me that what I've been doing is this fantastic collaborative effort to share data, meaning like if I buy from you, oh wait, sorry, if you buy from me, I know that you bought from me, right? By just looking at the app, I know that okay, Mr. V bought this comic book from me. I can then go on IMX and look at my transaction and look at the wallet address of the buyer, and I know it's you. So that's what they've been doing. You are familiar with that as well. But for those who are listening and want to understand how some people were able to, by themselves, not through VeVe, by themselves, find out the username for certain wallets. That's how they've been doing it. So, people keep sharing data, and therefore they build this spreadsheet or database of users. Like if somebody buys from you, you go on IMX, look up the record, and you share that. You kind of match that wallet address to that username. But even with that effort, they were not able to match up everybody. Like VeVe has, I don't know, 30,000 active users. I don't think they are able to do everybody, because not all users will transact that often. I think they're able to do maybe like 1,000 whales or something, or people who transact often, or people who are well known in the community. But at the scale of VeVe Analytics, where they're able to, look up every single username, then that has to be like a private API data.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. So my point here is that that's why people got annoyed, because those info, the username and the prices, are not supposed to be publicly available. And I think I've seen some people mention how the data is not 100% correct either. So some people take it the wrong way and annoy other folks, like what happened to Foster. But here's my problem with it. When you see, these auctions at Christie's or Sotheby's, you don't see any buyers, right? When you go to the auction of paintings that cost tens of millions or hundreds of millions of dollars, you don't see the buyers. You only see their agents, and their agents would be on the phone with the buyer who's sitting somewhere. Can be in the auction can take place in New York. The agents show up in New York, but the buyers are on the phone somewhere on a yacht in Europe, Asia, somewhere else. So the buyers never show up. So you never know the true identity of the buyers for these huge purchases, simply because wealthy collectors don't want their identity revealed. So they want this privacy, because if you have the money to buy like a $50 million painting, they know you have billions, and they're following you around and not create a lot of security risk. And same to regular folks. Like after you buy something from the mall, just to say you go to the mall and on the way out to the parking lot, somebody yell, "Mr. V spent $1,000 on this handbag," which usually costs $250, but because you are a special mint guy, right? So you paying this much. He also yells, "You spent $30 on this white pairs of jeans." He yells that to everybody. And that's what I think people are feeling with this site, because these are the activities and transactions that people are not supposed to know. I understand that you can, if you look at it, you can kind of find it, like people have been looking at Bizogi Man and Dr. Profit's wallet. But in order to do that, they had to work at it to match the username to the address, and they have to look at very boring IMX data, but not this way. And the second thing is the public shaming. Some people just want to collect. You are a specimen collector. You don't care too much about floor because your targets are always above floor. So when people look at your account and the account is calculated using the floor price, your P&L looks terrible. And they will think, "Oh, Mr. V is an idiot, whatever. He's losing a lot of money now." But that's not the truth, right? Because you wanted to collect, and having the P&L and having so much focus and emphasis on it makes it more like a transactional app, like an investing app, rather than a collecting app. I understand that there's some investing involved, but it is a collector app after all, and we have all have done stupid things. Uh, I bought a Wonder Woman FA for like 1,000 gems, and I'm not very proud of it, but that doesn't mean that public private data for people should be publicly available like this.
Sure. And there's another layer to it
Mhm.
where when you could see the transactions, the how much certain collectors paid
Yeah.
for items, it's kind of like when you are dealing with the housing market and you look at a particular neighborhood,
Mm.
and when you're whether you're, let's say you're trying to appraise the value of a
Right.
house, you have to look at what's called comps in the neighborhood and see, like, okay, what features does this house have that the surrounding houses do or do not have, and then you're able to adjust the price accordingly for X property. The same thing could be said of that kind of transparency that VeVe Analytics had provided.
Hmm.
So, for example, if you knew that a collector was willing to pay X amount for X mint or X kind of collectible, then those are the comps that other sellers or flippers
Mm.
could use to price their items in the market.
Right.
That would be another concern, because that's not in the current climate, that's what collectors, like actual collectors, are trying to avoid.
Wait, are you saying that, let's just say like I am your competitor,
Mhm.
you you bought this, I don't know, this house at X amount that I don't know, that I am not supposed to know. Let's just say you actually bought, and then later on, because of a site, I found out that you bought it for $500,000. Before knowing the information, I was gonna offer you $800,000. But now, since I know that you bought it for $500,000, instead of offering you $800,000, I'm now offering you, 650. So that creates a disadvantage for you because they're knowing the information that they should not know. Is that correct?
I so like I'm having a tricky time following, but m- my the way that I see it is that eventually people are going to find out how much certain collectors paid
Hmm.
for items. That's my guess.
Yes.
I don't know. I don't know if that's going to be information that's going to be undisclosed for much longer, because, like, let's say for example, if you go on OpenSea, you could
Hmm.
see exactly how much certain people sold an item for, an NFT for,
Yeah.
or bought an NFT, and that's public knowledge. And then
Hmm.
that can set and those are the comps, the comparables, right, for other people with those items to sell them. And then you can kind of branch out from there, like, okay, well, this has this rarity and there's only
Mm.
this number of NFTs with this
But
trait.
then, but then for OpenSea, you kind of have to make that educated guess, like wallet 0x5678 belongs to MisterV. Like they don't know for sure, right?
Right.
Mhm.
And then with VeVe, like, you know that there's a lot more eyes because the
Mhm.
community is smaller. There's many more eyes on on those collections and collectors that kind of stand out,
Mhm.
right? So it's like everyone is an easy target because the community is smaller, because people are down on paper,
Yeah.
or maybe they actually realized those losses when they maybe shouldn't have, or there's too many different variables in this market, because, like, you never know if people actually needed the money in real life and they had to liquidate some of their collectibles or comics. It's just really messy. But to kind of circle back to what I was to my point with VeVe Analytics, what it did was it allowed people to see how much people paid for certain premiums, in terms of premiums
Mhm.
for specific mints and collectibles, and other people, let's say flippers or just general collectors who don't buy anything other than floor collectibles, now they have comparables, and that may incentivize them to seek out certain mints and charge X multiple from floor when they're flipping, or whenever they decide to sell those mints that they sniped on the market.
Right.
What
Oh,
that
I
does,
see.
and what that does is it just makes it more difficult moving forward for collectors of specific mints to
Sorry.
be
So
able to.
let me clarify that. Let's just say there's a set that I follow, right? The gauntlet set. There are two items, and I like the mint 1111. Okay. And I was able to pay a lot of money for how many rarities? It's like two rarities, ultra rare and secret rare, right? I have the ultra rare 1111, and I bought it for 1,000 gems because I love that number. If you know that I paid 1,000 gems for my ultra rare 1111 and you have the secret rare 1111, then you know that I'm willing to pay at least 1,000 gems. Is that is that your point? If you were to offer
Yeah,
that to me?
yeah, that's in general,
Hmm.
yeah. Like
Okay, okay.
maybe they're thinking of, okay, maybe that's 10x floor.
Yeah.
And then you have and then I had a more expensive one that matches yours.
Hmm.
Now I'm thinking, oh, I could sell Will this more rare one for
Mm.
10x whatever the floor is, and the floor is much higher. So
Yeah.
I'm going to price gouge you, and I'm going to assume that you are willing to pay that. When in reality, that's not the case, and then there's hard feelings.
Yeah. Wait, so the site actually show the exact amount of gems that you pay for an item
After fees,
after, wow.
and it rounded it to the nearest 100. So like anything over 1,000. So like if you paid 1,050.
Hmm.
Oh, I'm sorry, bad example. If I paid 1,000, uh, let's say after fees it was 1,020, it would record it as 1,000 gems.
I see.
What I paid, or if it was 1,070, it
Mm.
would register as 1,100, something like that. So give you a
Mm.
pretty close price of what people paid after the fees.
Wow. That's pretty crazy how accurate it is. Yeah, so that means going back to my example, you know that if I pay 1,000 gems for my ultra rare and you have the secret rare, you can charge me, like if you know that amount, you're not gonna charge me 700 gems anymore for the secret rare. Now you are charging 2,000 gems. But well, so to sum it up, I think that I actually like the layout of the site. I think the intention of the people behind it, because I don't know if it's one person or multiple. I think the intention is good, and I think the layout and how they presented the data and how easy it is to use makes it a very good product. It's just that they use the information that might not be intended to use that way, and maybe they push it out a little bit too early. So I think they can still relaunch it and people will use it, but when they relaunch it, maybe they want to take away the controversial components, and it will still be a good product.
Yeah, we'll see, because a lot of the information that they did have access to wasn't supposed to be made to the public.
Hmm.
Not just the extra sensitive information, but just a lot of the basic information that they were sharing that was not on Immutable X. A lot of that information was not supposed to be disclosed to the public through, like, the way that they did it, because they didn't get the permission from the company, allegedly. And then also, this may come as a surprise, or let's say a pleasant surprise, but there's these very credible members in the community that are coming out with something that's gonna, uh, not I'm not I don't want to hype them up, but they're gonna make it a lot nicer,
Hmm.
a lot better, present information in a lot cleaner way, in a much cleaner way than what VeVe Analytics did. So
Yeah.
the community is going to get this, but packaged much nicer.
I have a suggestion for those who have access to these data points. I mean, good data points that do not annoy people, basically. And this idea comes from maybe a previous guest we had on, but I don't remember who it was. Somebody mentioned how it would be cool to know which collectibles in the market is being viewed the most, because that's when a lot of market activities happen. For example, and this is going to be a pretty lame example, but I saw VeVe Twitter today that they are promoting the new Groot movie, right? It would be cool to see. Well, a previous guest mentioned that it would be cool to get the number of folks who are looking at a particular collectible, just like how you go on eBay and you click on an item and it shows you 200 people have viewed this product in the past 24 hours, right?
I feel like it was Nesco.
Maybe it was Nesco. So yeah, shout out to Nesco. So I don't think these people can have access to that level of data, but it would be great to highlight some collectibles that have a lot of transactions going on. For example, like when the rumors of the VeVe was being discussed by the beta testers, a lot of people went out and bought the Avengers towers and the House from the Up movies and those kind of things. And I know that VeVe on the market page, they do highlight collectibles that have a lot of transactions by placing them on the main page. But I feel like sometimes that's like hit or miss. It would be cool to have these data people come out with a feature that say, okay, in the past hours, like 500 Avengers towers were traded or things like that. Then it will create a lot of, I don't know, like FOMO or like excitement or discussions, because all of a sudden these items that you probably not think about, like the Coca-Cola orb went up a lot, or the House from Up went up a lot after the VeVe came out. It would be cool to see an aggregated view of those transactions being presented somewhere. We kind of have that with VeVe Feed, but it's only for grails like the Todd or My Morales or Partner Statue. But it will be cool to see those aggregated views based on the quantity of transactions.
True. And that's also kind of similar to the profile views that we have. Like I'm just checking it right now. I see like 38,500 views
for your account
of my profile.
Wow, that's crazy.
And I've seen a few other people kind of show like how many viewers they've had, but
let me see how many I have. Where do you think the views come from? Which, I know you have a ton of collectibles, like very nice mint listed. Which mints or which collectibles do you think contributed to that high number of visits?
I think whatever's most recent. So like say for example, if I get a mint that I really like and I know it's a showcase piece.
Okay.
That's, or like something that's going to really.
How many views do you have again?
38,000.
Wow.
500.
Damn. I only have 4,200. I have 4,203. How many profile likes do you have?
Oh, not many. I like almost 1,300.
Wow. I have 556. What about followers?
Followers for Twitter?
No, for your VeVe account.
Oh,
Whoa, wait, hold on. This is just VeVe, right? The 28,000.
yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
What about followers?
38,000 for followers. I have no idea. I don't know how to see that.
Wait, so just look at your profile. So open the app, go to the profile, and under your name, like member sins, and then it will have the likes and the followers.
Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah. Almost 1800.
You have almost 1,800 followers.
Yeah. I've seen a lot of people though with like a couple like 2000, 3000 plus.
Jeez,
I guess
man.
it's just I guess it's more like who's active on the feed. Granted, I lost access to the feed for 11 months.
Yes.
That really,
Wow.
I bet I would have done a lot better in terms of those numbers. But the reason why I brought that up or made that connection is because
Mm?
I, w- I'd like to know if down the road if those numbers play into
Yes. Okay. Let me
for
tell you
you.
why. But first of all, I only have like close to 800 followers, and I post quite a bit on the app. So because you mentioned that you have like 28,000 views and 1,800 followers, I don't have any special mint, but I feel like posting collectibles at ridiculous prices or like special mint will certainly bring in a lot of visits, right? Because I post a lot to promote the podcast, but and I do get like people visiting and liking my profile and following. But like looking at your number, that's pretty wild.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't want to see a lot of people listing at 9.9 million with random hints because like Nesco, I agree with him. Like, why
Yeah.
are people just like listing items at crazy prices? Like, I do it because I'm trying to get those numbers up, and I'm speculating that maybe that may play into
Okay.
something down
Let
the
me
road.
tell you my theory on those numbers, and this is why I've been trying to grow it, and I think people should grow into. You know, posting get you like free MCP points, right? But then when it comes to VeVeverse, I think that's the amount of followers of friends or reach that you can have in this Viverse thing. So let's just say like when you want to visit people or when you want to post a message in the Viverse, if you have 1,800, those 1,800 people will see your message, right? So for content creator like us, we need to get those numbers up because that's like our Twitter followers or our subscriber on YouTube or our listeners on a podcast because that's how we promote our content, right? Because if both of us only have a total of 150 followers, then when we share our content in a Viverse, which will be the platform to do it because it only focuses on VeVe and we know the diehard fans of VeVe will be in it, only 100 people, only 150 people can see our content.
Mhm.
But if we combine, you have 1,800, I have 800, that's 2,600, then that number will be substantially higher. So I don't know, there are other plans to, to do things with those numbers. But for us content creator, I think, having a large following on the app will be very helpful to engage with folks, to hear from them, and to promote our content.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, and like what's been pretty fun and cool is that I get some messages from a whole bunch of different people on Telegram,
Mm,
on X, on Discord, and lots of stories people share with me, and some people asking me like how I manage to do certain things, and it's been organic. Like I'm not even asking people to follow me. I'm not saying follow for follow, like for like. Like I used to do that to try and get the numbers up, but
yeah,
like man, like that gets annoying, and I don't want to be one of those kind of people that spams in
yeah.
the feed like, hey, follow me, hey, like my profile, hey, uh pay attention to me. So I feel like a lot of that will a lot of the followers and growth in terms of views and things like that happen pretty organically now that I
There are
got the.
some people who are in it all day.
Mhm.
Do you notice?
Yeah, that that's I don't really look at the feed anymore.
Okay. There's this person that I later found is a lady, because the assumption is most of the folks in there are just guys. So like people were calling her bro and man and stuff, and she responded that she's a lady. But anyway, she's in it all day, and she has like 6,000 followers, which is crazy. And she posts every single day. Her username is, and her comments are very positive, great comments, great engagement. And she has a fantastic collection too. Her username is PatGo21. Um, yeah, she has like maybe the full golden moment set, and she has 3.7 thousand likes and 4,900 followers.
Jeez.
Yeah, and she's in it every day. So shout out to her for all these engagement.
Very cool.
Yeah.
That's a lot. That's a lot of work. That's a lot of
Yeah,
typing,
that's a
texting.
lot of neighbors in your Viva's home.
Well, so you said that you took a break for like a week from VeVe because you were on that cool trip.
Hmm?
Uh, so what have you been doing on the market, if anything?
I have not been doing anything. I've been DCing OMI, which is what I've been doing for a long time,
Mhm.
but that's about it. I haven't touched the market. I just like to listen in and look at things, but there hasn't been anything. Well, a I landed the Rare Adventures 1 comics.
Mhm. Which were you got the common,
The Rare. I got the
the
Rare.
rare, the rare. Okay,
Yeah, but that
that's a
was
good one.
about it.
That's cool. Very
Hmm.
cool.
Yeah.
I've been going for the drops with the pencils,
Okay.
and I got, I don't know, I got a variety of different things. Like I got some of the least rare. I got the most rare for one of them, and
Did you
basically I got,
see that somebody from our group has like 70 pencils?
yeah, yeah,
Okay, that
that's
was pretty funny.
yeah, that's a power play.
Yeah.
That's the banking on.
And I think it actually worked out for him too.
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah.
You know, it's tough to figure out a way to kind of build up your bankroll. But in either case, I've been going for those drops where they offer the pencils,
Hmm.
mainly just so that I could try and make, I don't know, 10, 20 gems here and there if I'm lucky. And I've not been holding on to anything. Like if I land it, I'll
Hmm.
sell it.
Have
Quick,
so you have been making profits then?
like 5 or 10 gems here and there.
Yeah.
And then if I know that, like if I know I really don't like it, like here's the thing with me, like if I get a random mint, I cannot let it sit in my account. It bothers me, and I'd rather take a loss than see it sit on my account. Like it just it gets on my nerves. So I'm pretty quick to get rid of those random mints, and then eventually, like my hope is to be able to kind of flip my way up to a nicer mint. But
That's good that you actually started doing that, because remember we talked about this like a while back of how both of us need to flip a little bit to play the long-term game, because we just cannot, keep putting gems in the app forever.
Yeah, but like this last one, the Tinkerbell, yeah, the Disney Tinkerbell drop where there's three rarities of the same character for their first appearance. I I was busy taking care of family and I didn't even have time to check the market to see what the floor prices were. And I went ahead and just like I got accepted for the drop. So I bought it without even looking at the market, and then I left it alone for a couple hours. I went back and I saw that I that the floor was like 14 gems or 15 gems when I paid 30 or 40 gems for it. So I was pretty upset because that kind of wiped out whatever few gems I had made.
Yeah.
And it's more of like a little exercise. I know I'm not going to be making crazy flips or anything. It was
Yeah.
just like a way to see like, hey, what does it take to
Sometimes you can hit a pretty nice mint. Um, I saw Javier, I think, mentioned that Kang number 41 got burned
yes.
because he was not sold out. So that was pretty cool.
Yeah, there's the Marvel collectibles are getting burned if they don't sell out within
Mm,
X number of days, but
yeah.
the Disney and Pixar ones don't.
Mm,
Even like I was checking the other day, Buzz Lightyear is still in the market, and that's a
wow.
Pixar collectible, and they haven't burned it. So there's a lot of supply left in the stores,
Yeah.
in the store, and you know, with all of that in mind, my approach to collecting recently, it's like I've basically been at a standstill. I haven't just yesterday I bought two collectibles, I think, and it was just kind of fortunate. I got the animated Iron Man collectible, the
Oh, okay.
exclusive. A buddy of ours, standoff chart.
Yep.
He got it on the
I
market
saw
and
that deal. Yeah, yeah.
he held on to
Shout
it
out
for
to
me.
him.
Yeah, big shout out and
I
huge
think
thank
he's
you.
also Vietnamese too, but yeah, that's pretty cool.
Yeah, that was a huge help, and um, I managed to complete like a really cool set for myself with that kind of
So
support.
you have the Iron Man golden moment, the Iron Man Comic Con animated. So two of them min matching.
Yep, and I matched
Oh,
the Iron Man golden moment with the Avengers logo golden moment.
all
So
right.
that set is I also have the Avengers Tower, and like
Wow.
we talked about the Comic Con exclusive animated Iron Man.
So all four of them?
All four of them same mint.
Wow.
I don't know.
That's the one.
Yeah, I haven't seen anyone else do the same thing quite yet, but I'm sure I'm checking out on X to see if anyone else has done the same. So
That's awesome, man. Considering how big a fan you are of Iron Man, looking at your background.
yeah, big time fan, and I'm just excited because that's probably my favorite set.
Oh yeah.
Like already, those four pieces just made it that much cooler, and
How did you feel the moment you got the animated Iron Man from standoff chart?
relief. Like
Yeah,
it was a lot because
I remember that. That was a while.
oh, so much stress and sweating it, and just like still being between jobs doesn't make it very comfortable, with so much time passing. So uh, it takes a village. You can't do everything by yourself, and you really have to lean on the support of others
Yeah,
in, in the community to be able to get some answers, to put together a collection that you like, to share ideas and strategies, whether they're right in the moment or wrong in the moment. It's you we all develop our own. None of the ideas that we have are our own, right? We are the product of the people who are around us.
yeah.
So surround yourself with good people and who mean well, and then chances are you're going to be a good person who means well and does well.
I do remember the day that he helped you to acquire that Iron Man, that specimen, and that was very cool too. And especially like there's always people looking out for you now. Um, I remember so Ben CF,
Mhm.
he's based in France, right? I remember a few weeks back where we are in US time zone and Ben is in France. So when he was sleeping, somebody found a comic that has his perfect mint number. And I remember we were talking about it in the group chat, like, oh, I found this comic that has Ben's mint. but he's sleeping in France. Should we get it? And then like people talk, oh, it's only like 10 gems, get it. And they end up getting it for him. And when he got up, he got it. And yeah, it's very nice to see how people are helping each other out, especially if they know the kind of mint you're going into, and then you return the favor.
Yeah, absolutely. Staying liquid is key.
Yeah.
You have to stay liquid enough to be able to help the people around you too. And I'm getting there. I'm getting there. And this coming month, I'm going to be a lot more aggressive, like heading into October, heading into Comic-Con.
Yeah.
Speaking of Comic-Con, are you going?
I don't know. I actually don't know. So let's just say no. But then if I change my mind, then I might show up for like a day or two. But I don't know.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm gonna do whatever I can, whatever I have to make it up, to make it out over there. New York's a good time. New York City is a good time. I've been to other places too, like Long Island.
Mm.
But I don't want to miss. I don't want to miss any more of these events.
Yeah.
I've yet to attend one, so I'm gonna try and right that wrong, and hopefully you can make it out too.
Yeah. That is it, everybody. Thank you so much for tuning in. I hope you have enjoyed the episode today. And if you have, remember that gentleman agreement. We will continue working until 1 a.m. just for you. But in return, we ask you to subscribe to the podcast so that you don't miss out on the actionable and valuable insights, everything VeVe OMI related. Don't forget to give us a rating and tweet at us to let us know what you think about the podcast so that we can refine the content better just for you. Thank you so much. We hope to see you again next time. Peace.